Hello, good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock. You're listening to KPCA LP, Petaluma, California, 103.3 FM, online at kpca.fm. My name is Phil, and you have just tuned in to Let's Make a List. This is the show where I take a topic related to pop culture, anything, movies, music, video games, things like that. We get a topic, we make a list, go through our picks, talk about it, tell stories, do trivia, things like that. Entertainment, pop culture related. So I'm still trying to figure out how to do the intro. That was fine. So today is Friday, and we have a guest with us that you've heard on the show before. Were you on the show last week?
No.
2 weeks ago?
Probably.
All right. Well, this is Chris.
Hi.
Hey, Chris. How's it going? Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
If you want to move, talk a little bit closer to the mic, sure. I think. Oh, let's see, is that better?
Is it?
I think so. Is your mic on?
I don't feel very mic'd.
I don't feel. Oh,
what about this one?
There we go. I'm sorry, things are backwards.
I was thinking things were here.
Yeah.
So which one should I use now? Should I keep using?
Nah, you can use the other one.
Okay. I'm gonna use this one.
There
now?
we go. That's my fault. Sorry about that.
I feel heard now.
Yay! So this is Chris. This is Phil.
No. This is Chris.
Hey, welcome, Chris. Thanks for being on the show today.
You're welcome.
So this is your, I'm going to guess, 6th time on the show?
I'm not going to guess.
I didn't check, but that sounds about right. So today we started with, like a week ago, we came up with one topic, and then we decided yesterday not to do that one because it was too close to one we've already done before. Our topic was going to be, if you were in charge of writing a sequel to a movie, what movie would you write a sequel to? But then, were you on the show before when we did the sequels one?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yes.
So we already had a show where we talked about what movies we'd like to have sequels to. So I picked one. For this topic anyway. Did you pick any?
I have a list, but I don't even remember what was on it.
Oh, we don't have to do that then. We'll.
Are you going to write that movie?
I think so. Mine is. When it comes to mine, I think the one would be most fun. It would pretty much make no sense to make, but the Mario Brothers movie, a sequel. Yeah.
And do you think you would be able to write? I think you probably would be able to write one of those. Actually,
I don't know.
Because I was trying to think of things that I would be able to write, and
oh yeah.
That might work for you.
Because for me, it would be fun to, because the Super Mario Brothers movie, people don't know, is it has references to the game, and it has like some of the same characters, but it's a completely different kind of world, different tone. Nothing about it feels like the game, really.
Right.
So it would be kind of fun to do it in the same, try to make it the same tone, make it where it references the game, and you're like, well, I guess these things can kind of work, but then at the same time have it so it's really off and weird.
And you know the games well enough to
try to find ways to fit things in where it doesn't quite fit and use them a little bit differently than they actually would be. Did you want to try to remember any of yours, or should I go?
I don't think I had anything interesting to say about it yet.
Oh, okay.
So, nah.
Okay. But what we are going to do today is one, again, most of our topics, we don't talk about it at all. We just come up with what the topic is, then we say, okay, we both agree, and then we talk about it on the air for the first time.
That's true.
So this is what movies or TV shows or books or whatever uses supernatural stuff. Most believable use of supernatural stuff. All right. So we're going to get to this soon, but I just want to introduce this. So if you were like, I don't want to listen to that. I don't want to listen if the topic's not interesting.
Then
you know. I don't know where I'm going with this, but anyway.
He's trying to give people an out.
Yeah. KBCA, you don't have to listen. First of all, I always want to say thanks to everyone who's listening to Healing Within and are sticking around to listen to this show. Give it a shot. Appreciate it. And after us at 3 o'clock, there is full circle sessions with DJ Saeed for 2 hours, I believe. All right. So before we get to our lists, a few other things. One is I started last week a new segment. We'll see how long it lasts, where I do a public domain movie review of the week. So I find a movie that is, from what I can tell, considered to be in the public domain. Right. It isn't always totally clear, but whatever. And then I watched it, and I put my phone down, my computer off, and I sat there and I really tried to focus on the movie, which is because they're usually older movies, and those are tough for me to watch usually anyway because of how slow they are and boring. And then also, I just have such a short attention span. I thought it would be a good way to try to change that.
Yeah.
Something with lights just happened outside.
Live.
Yeah.
Petaluma. Action news.
Yep. And then I'm gonna over time rank them. So like maybe in a year, there'll be like 50 public domain movies, and you'll know which ones are the best. And so
the least not watchable.
Exactly. So this week I watched Suddenly from 1954. Have you heard of it?
I don't think I have.
I had not until the day I watched it. So it's Suddenly, it's 1954, black and white, Frank Sinatra.
Okay.
And he plays a bad guy.
Oh, okay.
Which is interesting. I think this is the first time I've seen Frank Sinatra in a movie. And I think it's, and I don't, he's a talented singer. I'm not going to, a lot of people like his music and his shows and stuff. I always just kind of had a negative opinion of him.
Right.
And then I saw this and I was like, well, he's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, he's a talented performer and all that, yeah.
Yep. So that was nice. And then it was kind of fun seeing him as the villain.
Okay, what was it? So what kind of a, well, you'll get
it's it's real quick summary, but not going to spoil it. Small town, the president is traveling and is going from a train into a car to drive to like another somewhere else, and so it's like small town, not much is going on, everyone knows each other, president's coming through town for a minute, so everyone's like, oh, police, Secret Service, bunch of people come in to do stuff. And then Frank Sinatra plays a someone else, not himself, I forgot the character's name, and a couple other people. They're like hitmen basically, and they are hired to assassinate the president. So there's a house on the hill, and they go to the house and they take the family hostage, and the movie is them waiting for the president to get there so they can assassinate him.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of the old movie stuff thank you, that I don't know. It was pretty good.
You made it through the summary without having like blank spots.
Yeah.
That seems like you actually watched it like a movie.
Yeah, they a couple things. They actually touched on some issues that I think are important that aren't touched on a lot. Touch, where including the effect war has on the people who are in the war, negative effects that it has when they come back home, which is in movies some, but it was in a way that didn't glorify war, and it didn't the movie had to make sure that we all knew that they were they're like we're all on the same side here, but there was still like, oh, this is like the war kind of turned this person. This person, Frank Sinatra's character, kind of discovered, from going to war, I like killing, and that's what I'm good at.
Okay, yeah.
And I was programmed to learn to take emotion out of it.
Right.
And that was actually pretty interesting. And then the movie also kind of talked about not gun control, but like some of the people they have their view on guns is like they're evil no matter what. Other people are not that way, and just kind of interesting with this how they interacted, and it wasn't just an obvious this person's wrong, this person's right. It kind of actually brought up things, and it didn't just try to say this is good or bad. Slight spoiler alert, I thought the last 10 minutes were bad. I feel like they kind of just went, oh, we need to make this everything tie together and blah blah blah, and it was just kind of like, all right, why did I say that? I'm sorry, but anyway,
you just spoiled that movie for everybody.
Yeah. The boredom score. So the boredom score,
right?
We determined last week, is the lower the number the better, because that's how many times I find myself checking my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Only 2 times the whole movie.
Okay.
4 times for Last Man on Earth. Only 2 times today. Again, this as time goes on probably won't be actually representative of how good the movie is, because over time I'll learn to I'll get better at it. But still,
well, reviews of movies tend to reflect more about the reviewer than the movie itself.
Sure.
And you're going to look at this list of look at how I've improved in my does like pausing the movie or anything affect the score?
I have no. Okay. Because I did pause it to feed the cats.
Okay.
So, and I did not. That was not the movie's problem.
It wasn't so engrossing that you just completely forgot you were in your house.
Right. Okay. We'll see if we ever get to one where it's the boredom score is 0. That would be pretty good. Yeah. So this one right now is ranked number 1 ahead of The Last Man on Earth.
Yeah.
It's a big gap between the two of them. We'll see what happens later. The one quote from it is father-in-law talking to his daughter-in-law, and he's trying to fix a TV, and he doesn't really know what he's doing, and he's causing things to kind of blow up and stuff a little bit. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she's going like, be careful. Like, you sure you don't want to call this person to have him fix it? Someone knows what they're doing. And he says, Ellen, would you please stop being a woman? All right. That is, that's a movie from the 50s.
Yep.
And everything's better and changed now.
Right,
so,
right. Yeah, we wouldn't have anything like that happen nowadays.
Exactly. All right. So that's that segment. Next, I want to do a little bit of trivia stuff before we get to our list.
Okay.
Yes. I'm gonna say something.
Phil
just a new segment.
To a ghost.
Yeah. Ghost host with the most.
Right.
KPCA. Let's make a list.
Yeah.
I am going to. This is a new segment where I just start naming things, and then you have to, after each thing, the guest has to guess what this is a list of.
Okay.
All right.
Is that why they call them guests, you think?
Yeah, nice. Okay, you can guess after each one.
Okay.
Rage. Okay, here's the thing.
Okay.
You can obviously go words, and you'd be correct,
right.
But that's not what I'm going for.
Comic book characters?
No. But it is going to be some kind of pop culture.
Okay,
related.
yeah.
Road work. We have rage and road work.
I'm gonna be not specific and say album names.
Nope. The Running Man.
That
opened up a new door in your head. I can tell.
Yep.
Your mind.
Stephen King books.
You are correct.
Yay!
Yeah. So there's.
What was the second one?
Road work.
I don't know.
Rage and road work. I don't know. Running Man, Dark Half, Desperation.
Yeah.
I tried to pick ones that were not super well known.
Right.
But good job.
Yeah.
Question.
Okay.
Have you read any Stephen King books?
Yes, I read.
You read Carrie? You read Christine?
Not Carrie. I read Christine, and I read. I'm not even sure I finished The Dark Half, but I liked it.
Okay.
They're kind of long, and I don't care. The endings aren't really my cup of tea.
Do you? Because he's known as being like the king of the Stephen King of scary books.
Uh-huh.
I've read a few of his books. They didn't scare me at all. Have you ever read a book that scared you?
Probably not. Like everybody would like.
Because you could say
I don't think I have.
Because books, I was going to say, a lot of times if I read a book, because I don't think I have, but if I have, it was probably remind me of something else that scared me. But I'm like, well, that's kind of the same thing with movies when they're scary movies where
they remind you of times when a ghost tried to kill you.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean? It's if you watch a movie and it's like someone opens up a cellar door and there's stairs that go to darkness, that by itself is not scary, but there's so much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like I don't know if I've read any books that actually scared me.
There's some.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I thought of some, but I don't interrupt you more than I already did.
Some Lovecraft stuff.
H.P. Lovecraft.
Correct.
Howard Kramer. Okay.
Yeah. It gives me kind of an unease, but not as scared ever.
Okay.
And I'm thinking. I mean, there were a couple parts with the Joker in Grant Morrison's Batman run of comics that actually was like, I go like, oh yeah, comics have never ever scared me.
Real quick, we're getting a phone call.
You always say real quick, and it's never real quick.
Yep, I'm trying to teach myself how to do it faster.
But
hello, thanks for calling, Mom. How's it going?
So I'm wondering, have you read scary books? I mean, if you're not reading scary books, then then they might not scare you.
Here's the thing: I've read some true crime books that are a little creepy, make me uncomfortable, and then I'll put them down for a little. Helter Skelter. The first time I read that was my first true crime book, and it made me uncomfortable, and I took breaks, and I went like, should I be reading this? But then it didn't stick with me really. I think it was that. I think that was actually made me question myself, because going like, wait, why am I enjoying this? It's so whatever. And then I started to realize, I like the way that the investigation was done, and stuff. It just it was
it's interesting. Yeah.
But
so anyway, I think if you're not going to be scared by books that aren't meant to be scary.
Right, but a lot of the Stephen King ones are meant to be scary, I think. And
well, only some of them.
I remember Carrie. Sorry.
Like Pet Cemetery. I found myself actually. You know how when you're watching a really scary movie and you put your hands over your eyes and peek through your fingers?
Yeah.
I did that while I was reading.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I remember that story. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So remember that you got to read a book that's meant to be scared. Okay, that's my only point. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That is a good point.
I think that... I just wanted real quick. I wasn't trying to just say like, books can't be scary.
Right,
I was just curious if you've actually...
And I think the fact that I don't generally get scared by books makes me less likely to seek out books that are supposed to be scary. But I don't really know why that is. I guess it just, for me, books take a little bit... They take constant effort for me to... I don't have that good of a theater of the mind.
Same here.
And so I think that the movies just take care of that for me.
Yeah, because books, you really... You control the pacing. You control... In a way, you control... a lot of it. And so your brain will probably just
you misread things and different things happen.
And your brain will probably even on just as a way of protection, maybe try to interpret things or present itself in your head in a way that will not make you uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
I think my brain works the opposite way.
Yeah.
But
maybe I don't know.
We both said that, Jinx.
Jinx.
You too.
Speaking of Jinx, we both are going to go on to the next piece of trivia.
Okay.
So one more of what is this list of? Quest for the Crown.
King's Quest games?
Yep, good job.
Okay.
Can you name
anything else?
Can you name any more of them?
Yeah. I could just a second ago.
So King's Quest, as you're thinking, is a Sierra Games video game where it was a point-and-click adventure where it was kind of like medieval times, maybe Renaissance times, and it involved... Were you a prince or a king? Were you a king?
You were...
Or were you sent on a mission from the king? I think remember.
The king died, and I cannot... I just played it last year. Yeah. The Perils of Rosella.
You are correct. That's the fourth one.
Yeah. And then man, I know all of them.
There's Romancing the Throne.
Yes.
To Err is Human.
Yeah. And I think there's one that sounds a lot like that too.
Err Today, Gone Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Absence Makes the Heart Go Yonder.
I wasn't gonna get that.
Younger.
Yeah.
Is it Younger? It should be Yonder. I think.
Yonder. Yeah.
The Princeless Bride, and Mask of Eternity.
The Princeless Bride.
Yeah. Mask of Eternity.
Yeah, Mask of Eternity. I should have gotten to, but haven't played that one.
So that brings to another question. Those games are not historical fiction.
Correct.
But they kind of they reference things in history, or at least at time.
They reference things from fairy tales and things, not really historical things at all, I think.
Okay, so this question has nothing to do with that then, but it made me think of this question. Do you think movies, video games, and books that are like historical fiction, do you think they make it easier or tougher for people to remember history accurately? Overall. Or for yourself, do you think? Because for me, there'll be stuff I'll learn in school, like history, that I'd read, and I remember little bits, but most of it not. If I see it in a movie or something, things will stick with me better.
Right.
but then obviously there'll be parts that are untrue.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if,
but there are
what
in
the
the
balance is.
dry reading from school too.
That's a good point.
But
yeah.
but the thing is, I think our brains are just the thing they're best at is stories and narratives, and so of course most people will remember better and more accurately what they read than if it's a story as opposed to a list of dates and things like that. There was some. I mean, it depends on whether things are presented historically accurate. There was something I can't remember. I can't remember what I was. There was a study that did that. Like, I can't remember what it was at all, but it was very relevant, and I'm smart for thinking of it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering, because a lot of historical stuff, when I think of how it looked, and so I think of movies and video games, and I go, oh, I wonder if that actually makes it, so I remember things more accurately or not.
Well, I think for me, it gives me more things to hang historical facts on, which is very helpful. There's a game that I'm really, really awful at that I'm trying to get into called
Chess.
Crusader Kings.
Okay.
And it started in I don't remember when the earliest is, but like the 1100s or something. And then you control a character, and then you follow that bloodline down through the
That's
years
kinda cool.
until you don't have an heir and that kind of thing. And it's all you can start at times that are historically accurate in terms of map and rulers and everything. And all the characters have a link to their Wikipedia page on there. And some of them are fictional because as time goes on, but it's like that's a much. I can't tell you anything I've learned about this, but being able to see the map, visualize the personal relationships and all that, and then go click on a button and read about the person.
Yeah,
it's that kind of thing. I think is a great thing. It's just as all storytelling can be used for good or evil.
Yeah. That's a good way to present things, even in context. Like a lot of times, Errol and I would talk about, and stuff. Like I've taken lots of history classes, and sometimes the teacher will do things chronologically, or they'll do it chronologically, and they'll jump around from different. Like I took like world history or European history, jump around from different civilizations and cultures. And then they'll move on to another time and jump around again. I don't know if that works better for me, or if just sticking with one and going, here's the entire timeline we're going to cover, then we'll go back. Because it is kind of interesting to see what things are going on at the same time. And so it's...
But no, I completely
I wonder...
have that same thing, especially since it... Like, I think that it works better to sit in one place and see that place's story for a while to learn that story. But I remember when we started talking about things more like integrated, where you get to see what was the state of the whole world at this time, there were a lot of things that I had just for no reason imagined happened sequentially, because that's how we studied in school. And so then things that like overlapped were completely surprising, and like I had to relearn a bunch of stuff. Yeah. So it's a weird thing.
It's and so many of the things. The reason that one thing happens in one culture or area is, or in some way, a response to what happens somewhere else. So it's a really tough thing to, I feel like, to teach and learn. And I do a lot where you look at like just kind of how people would define certain eras, like even just decades. They go like 70s, 60s and 70s, and each one kind of in my mind has like a different look and feel to it. And then I go, okay, the 2000s and 2010s, no, nothing. Yeah. And because I think so much of the history we learn is picking certain things and then kind of projecting that. Yeah. And so it's like there are a lot more similarities and overlapping. Yeah. And at times, and so many numerous things going on. And even it could just be like, you know what I mean? Like you'll see, like it could even be where you'll see who the president is, and you will say, "Oh, that's
the era when this stuff was happening."
Yeah, and then you look at the president also and go, "Oh, the country, that's who they chose their president, so that's what the country's mindset was." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like,
Well, that's the other side of humans being extraordinarily good at thinking through stories is that they make stories where there aren't any to help them be easier to think about. So you see the past and you can see the story that you've built up for whatever the 70s was. But when we're living through it, that story hasn't really been cleaned up and whittled down to its like, I'm going to decide this is the story for this decade just because we have too many things we haven't made that story in our head yet.
And it's like the example, because I think of it in terms of music a lot. In the 90s, a lot of people are like, that's like grunge. And I'm like, grunge is such a small part of the 90s. They go grunge, or they go like, and then they go like boy bands. You know what I mean? Like that pop groups, and it's such a small part of it. Yeah. And all right.
They should mention Blur more often.
That's true.
Yeah. Philip's lost in thought.
I did that for only Chris's benefit for humor, and then made good radio. All right, do you want to talk about our list?
Kinda.
All right, so so the first half an hour of us talking about this is going to be talking about how we interpreted this differently. So most believable use of supernatural stuff seems kind of like a contradiction.
Yeah.
Because supernatural is basically stuff we can't explain.
Right.
That is considered, or it's like believed by some, or that it is real. And so I was going like, believable supernatural. Then it's just like, well, if you make it believable, you kind of have to then. This is complexing. This is complexing for me because I go like, oh well, then if you just make it believable, then it just seems like it's not supernatural,
right?
And then so I go, okay, so I basically what I kind of boil it down to is, I could see this being possible in some way. Maybe not, but more possible than other things. So it's where, for me, I took like how people reacted to what was going on. If I could see like, oh, maybe it'd be possible for people to figure out how this worked, or if this is something that, even though I don't have an explanation for, if it happened, I feel like there isn't necessarily sure things that contradict it.
So it's like it kind of things that you don't think are believable that kind of makes you go, maybe it is kind of believable.
Yeah. And that
was our topic, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And then I had to go like, well, supernatural. I looked up the word supernatural like 5 times on my list, because every time I'm like, wait, am I doing this right? Yeah. And
every time it just showed the CW show, and you were like, ah.
Oh, that did show up a lot. Yeah. That did not make my list. I haven't seen it enough for it to make my list.
It's I like it a lot, but not for this.
So mine is kind of a mess.
Mine is intentionally a mess, just like it's not complete, no order or anything. It's just depending on where the conversation goes.
Okay. I can kind of do mine in different types of supernatural abilities. Supernatural abilities. All right, so one is ghosts and stuff. No, okay. This is
the movie Ghosts and stuff.
I'm gonna start with one that I'm guessing is probably on your list too. X-Files.
Yes.
And this is why I chose that one. I feel like, because I've seen most of the episodes, there's usually.
Dude, I thought you were like half.
Oh no. We
got through 7 or something.
Season 8, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
It's good. We kind of watched too much at one time.
It's okay.
There's most episodes. There's some doubt about what's actually happening, and so much of it is them trying to explain or figure out what's actually happening and why that's happening, and it rarely is just like, well, that's because ghosts are real. You know what I mean? And so they present it in a way where it's in a real world where supernatural things, most people. Oh, okay, I take that back. I was going to say supernatural, most people don't believe, but I'm like, well, religion, so much that is supernatural stuff that people believe, and then. But it's like you're not gonna. It's not like Ghostbusters, where it's like everyone's like, "Oh, it's a ghost. Call somebody."
Yeah.
Oh, phew, we're taking care of. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the X-Files, it's their whole point is to explain these things that seem weird, and they're not always able to do it, but that doesn't mean that it's impossible. So so there's just a lot of like, who knows, this, we see this stuff and we're doing our best kind of thing, where that makes it seem like, oh, you could have, you know, a cult of weird vampire people that like I guess they seem to have weird powers sometimes, but I don't know, and it's one of those the I don't know helps a lot to make it believable.
Because so much of it could be, I keep thinking about an episode where, no, I'm getting a lot of episodes mixed up. Never mind, I'll take it back. But yeah, that I feel like that's the first thing that popped in my mind. You were talking about X-Files the other day that made me think of this list. Yeah, that's one of my list. I'll just go through some.
On a related note, Chris Carter's other show called Millennium. He's
with Lance Hendrickson.
Yes, as a profiler, and this is the kind of thing where a lot of the things on my list are. It's so unclear whether it's actually supernatural stuff that. Like, does that mean it shouldn't be on the list, or is it that makes it believable? It makes me think it's... But there's a character that kind of shows up occasionally, and people like... Or it's more like evil shows up, and occasionally people recognize it as evil, and things like, as opposed to this is someone doing something bad. It's like, you know, lightning flashes, and it's the face of a person that we've seen do horrible things before. And it's one of those... all the things that are actually happening are just regular murderers and stuff, you know, CSI type stuff, except that the way the main character kind of does his job is he sees mythological type true evil in things and symbolism in things that, you know, the devil manifests in different ways, kind of, you know, that kind of thing, which made it, I wouldn't call that a supernatural show, but like kind of has it in there.
Is it supposed to be like that's his interpretation of things, or is it supposed to be more so like as an audience, these things that when he sees the manifestation of something, it's actually there?
I think it's completely unclear.
Okay.
And that's it. That show has a lot of vague weirdness that especially because it kind of got juggled around between a few people who were running the show and stuff with different ideas. That show ended up very ambiguous and weird by the end. Okay, which I like. That's good.
Here's an example of one where it could either be like number one on my list or that it shouldn't be on my list at all.
Right.
Is the movie Primer?
Yeah,
because it's got time travel. But the thing is, I don't understand how they explained it, or I didn't. I like the primary. If you look online, you probably find that there's people do a diagram of how the time travel works, and then some people do like serious ones, and then others just a big, just squiggly lines just drawn all over the place, and that's what it feels like for me. Like you and Stuart have drawn diagrams to try to explain to me what happened, and it was just I have trouble time travel stuff, no matter what, pretty much. But so that one, it's like they made it in a way. It's like, is it believable for me? I don't understand it. I don't think I would understand it if it actually someone would made it work in real life. So it's like it feels realistic in that way, but it could just be a bunch of stuff that means nothing to me.
I put that on my list because it was believable, and I took it off because I realized that it was more just sci-fi instead of a supernatural thing. But like time travel, it didn't feel supernatural. It felt like sci-fi.
But for me it was.
But that's a hard distinction.
Yeah. That one feels not supernaturally, but the more I thought about it, the more I felt like it should go on the list. Like I have another one on my list, time travel related, which is Terminator.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's, again, I think it's mostly just how people react, and maybe just because they just did a good job making it seem kind of grimy and
yeah.
Oh, what's the word I'm thinking of? I don't know, but Terminator for me, I bet I could watch it now and go like, look at this, but
No, but
But
it had
just
a
felt
it had a believability. It wasn't just some clean weird idea. It was
gritty. That's what
gritty. There you go.
Yeah.
My only thing is that if I was counting sci-fi and pure fantasy stuff, like Lord of the Rings, yeah, but not like it's real. But like in the universe, they treat it real very well. And so I just kind of avoided things. I wanted to go for things that look like our world, where a specific weird thing happened.
Yeah. So Terminator for me.
And that counts. That counts. Yeah.
Was that on your list?
No, I just didn't use time travel stuff because I decided that it wasn't supernatural. But
well, he's really strong.
Yeah, but he's a robot.
What?
He also is a
bodybuilder.
Is
Shrek Suburban Commando on your list?
Nope. Okay. I forgot that movie completely.
Another one. I taking turns, but that's because things are popping in my head. I want to let you talk soon, but this one I was actually stuck on for a while. Toy Story. Toy Story. It's like I don't
believe it.
I don't believe it, but it's like again the way that it is in that world. I guess it's kind of goes the fancy stuff. They do. I feel such a good job of making it seem like in that world it totally is believable and works.
Yeah,
and it's not, and it is in our world in a way. Even though you know what I mean.
Yeah, I just don't believe it though.
Okay. All right. Sorry. So
but that's an understandable suggestion. Cool. I don't know what I'm doing.
What's on your list?
How about In the Flesh, which is a semi-recent BBC series where zombie stuff outbreak. There's a zombie outbreak thing, and people are cured, but not. That was in hand quotes. But there's issues and weird, and they basically turn it into a class and race struggle situation, but it's done so completely believably, and it got canceled because the BBC lost funding or whatever. But I totally say seek out In the Flesh. I think 2 or 3 seasons that were just super surprisingly great.
Would they? So when you're doing your list, is it more so more so the way people react to the stuff, or is it?
Yes, and also just the way. Yeah, I mean that's a big part of it. I think it's also just if they present it in a way that
you don't have to suspend disbelief.
There's very little you have to suspend to make that happen.
Okay.
And in this one, they definitely just like it. You really don't need to. It's basically just like this thing happened and we're dealing with it, and you kind of skip the parts that would be hard to the actual immediate reactions. You can skip most of that stuff to get to the later stuff, and
I've never heard of it.
You should watch it.
Here's one, Jurassic Park.
Okay,
this is why
I think that
they did a good job. I could see they found a way to recreate dinosaur DNA. It's a little different. We had to fill in some gaps.
Right.
All right, and then did that, and it was used by people to try to make lots of money.
Yep.
In which I feel like that's what would happen. And people, they kind of were in a way, blinded by that. It's just like we can make it like a zoo.
Right.
Obviously, they're gonna be stronger and stuff, but we just have to. Blah, blah, but then they just kind of. I felt like they were the people who ran Jurassic Park were slightly blinded a little bit by the just making money and not actually going like, is this right or wrong, and do we actually know what we're doing? And I just thought they did a good job of that. Yeah. And
I agree. It's just the sci-fi thing disqualified that for me, just because even though that was just the way I interpreted it.
Yeah, but because I feel like supernatural because in real life we don't, and we don't know how to make dinosaurs.
Well,
in a way,
no, but
we
kind of it's that one.
I guess it
had a natural explanation, even if it was not.
That's true.
Not possible yet. It still was. It didn't have to break any rules of our universe.
Right. I guess I kind of interpreted this a little bit incorrectly then, because I was kind of doing things where in their world it was more natural, but in ours it was supernatural.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean that's
so I don't know.
It's a weird line thinking about this. How about The Exorcist?
Oh,
because cool. I was just especially the more I rewatch it. it just plain like this is a thing that's happening, and it's crazy, and it's just like nobody really knows how to deal with it, and it's a mess, and it's weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree with that one.
Yeah.
And again, it
didn't feel like a magic world or anything. It just
Right.
felt like there was a demon playing tricks and being a jerk.
Yeah. I think it was just that girl wanted attention.
Yeah, I do too.
So she probably
Yeah.
spent years taking these gymnastics classes in secret and voice acting. And
Yeah.
she
I just
ate a
don't
lot of
understand
gross
how
stuff.
she learned all those swear words.
That's true.
Because a kid at
That part,
that age,
that's the supernatural part.
that's, yeah. I mean, I still believe it, but
Have you seen any of the sequels?
I fell asleep halfway through the second one, and
nice.
I was really liking it. I just fell asleep. It's a really different movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of
And
them.
then the Ninth Configuration, I think it's called, is a William Peter Blatty who wrote The Exorcist, wrote and directed it. Like, it's not a sequel to The Exorcist at all, but it's kind of his take on what he wanted to do with that, and it's a very different movie, and it's pretty weird. And I almost put it on this list, but I can't remember if there was actually supernatural stuff.
Okay.
But that one's another very interesting movie.
I want to take a quick break to say a movie that I felt like was maybe the least realistic use of
I've
supernatural
got a couple
stuff.
of those, I think.
Oh,
So
wait,
just one.
we'll do it at the end then.
No, let's do it right now. We need
Okay.
a break.
Weird Science.
Yeah, no, that one's pretty good. I don't believe anything that happened in that movie. Yeah, that's good. Nothing But Trouble was one that I was like,
Oh, yeah.
is this so weird that it's like it's probably true?
Well, that one's total nightmare movie
Yeah.
for me, where you wake up and you go, oh, thank God.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
Because you can't explain it. You can't use
Nothing.
logic
Yeah,
or anything.
yeah.
It's a good one.
I just kept thinking of that movie. I don't really know why.
I kept thinking of the Goonies. I'm like, that's not supernatural.
Well, then yeah, because it had so many things that like felt like they could have been if things were a little different, yeah, I thought of that one a lot too.
Which I think is good that they didn't make it
Yeah,
supernatural
yeah.
stuff, because then it felt like actual adventure that you could go on.
And the Indiana Jones stuff kind of has that same
I was
kind of
thinking about
thing,
that, too.
except that I don't know. I was so disappointed the last time I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark, because I remember liking it, and I just didn't care for it this time. And I'm trying to remember if they treated that stuff as believable or not.
In the third one, they did, I think.
Yeah, but that one was such a kind of a fun adventure
Yeah.
that it didn't really feel like it was trying to be believable. It was just using the tropes of
That's a good point.
the genre.
Yep. Chris, that movie defies all genres.
Okay.
It has. It's
They're talking about
Indiana
the
Jones?
Last Crusade?
Yeah.
What?
What movie? What color? Think of Indiana Jones movies. What color comes to mind?
Like a brownish orange, yellowish?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Is that because
I think
that's what the posters were or something?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's why.
All right. Back to our list.
Sure.
I'm gonna say, "Let Me In," which
I
is a
almost had
remake
that on my
of,
list.
of is it Let the
Right One In?
Yeah, I haven't seen the original. I've heard it's better, but who knows?
I really prefer the American one, which is weird.
Because I liked it. Again, yeah, it felt believable.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a vampire, and she obviously had supernatural powers.
Yeah, but it had that. The only reason that one didn't quite make my list is it just had a bit of a fairy tale feel to it. It felt like a little bit too story and perfect in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But that's just it. Just made it feel less like, oh, that's actually real.
Mm-hmm.
But that's good enough.
What about you? What's the
How about? Well, I'll just quickly mention A Field in England, which is a movie that most people haven't seen. That black and white. What's the director's name? He did Kill List.
Don't know.
Anyway, it's like a few guys out in a field in like medieval times, I think, and like it's really. I can't tell whether there's supernatural stuff going on or not. Or it's too possible that there's like I don't know. It's a very It's a very not clear movie, but it's shot in black and white, and it seems like it's super clear, but it just isn't.
Okay, is it? I don't want to. I should. What's it called? Sorry, what was it
A
called?
Field in England.
Is it new or old?
5-10 years.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, I don't really have anything.
So
So because that went nowhere, I'm going to say
cool.
Either of the Night of the Living Dead's, the 80s remake or the original one, just kind of, that one felt like, oh yeah, no, zombies are showing up. What are we going to do?
Yeah. Every time one of us picks something, it makes me question how I interpret this topic.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Well, it was a tough one to, because I just, rules come to my head and you're like, oh, that doesn't feel right because of, but yeah. How about you?
I've got this one. I think you're gonna go. It shouldn't be the long list because sci-fi, or for your list, Star Trek: Next Generation.
Okay, yeah.
It didn't seem to like. I don't know what to say. Just because now my brain, I'm going like, I don't know which way it is. But, I'll just.
Well, they also had weird things where they interact with gods and things in a way that, I don't know. That one was tough. I mean, I thought of that too, but I did disqualify it just because it took place in a different world, kind of. But I agree that they took it seriously and made it believable.
Cool. What do you got next?
I just hit my mic.
Oh.
How about The Interview with the Vampire, the book, especially? Just like,
you couldn't have two vampires that good looking in the same.
Well, it's in the book
going together. I know that's why the movie doesn't work.
It just plain had like a guy who got turned into a vampire, and this is how it went. And there was nothing like trying to make a big deal about stuff. Really, I don't know what I'm saying, but it that one just was like, here's actually an interview with a vampire, and the only reason this isn't believable is just that he talks constantly really, really well. It's a long interview with a lot of detail.
Do you think, have you ever, any of these movies or books or anything ever actually made you think twice about if these things actually exist or are possible?
Often.
Oh, okay.
But I don't, that's part of why I read things, is to try to, get an idea of what I'm misjudging or what I'm forgetting about.
Well, I guess that's what a lot of artists, that's their goal, is to make you see things.
And the Illuminatus trilogy by Robert Shea and Robert Anton Wilson is a book that it's so, like, all of the narrator and all of the characters are unreliable, and there's crazy goofy stuff going on all the time, but then there's like a weird, like, it seems like everybody is interpreting a base weirdness in different ways just because it's indescribable, and it just has this weird feeling of there's something going on.
Okay.
that definitely makes me think about what our consciousness is and what we're actually doing when we interpret what our senses give us, and had some very strange and different ideas of what those things could be. I'm just using a whole lot of pronouns over and over again.
I know you're saying it. For me, I try to think of movies where, and I don't think I thought of any where I'd watch it, and I'd watch it and I go, oh, that'd be weird if there was like that. That'd be cool. But then I don't actually think that that's a possibility in a way.
Right.
And I'm trying to think of any that I made actually made me go like, oh, maybe the world, maybe these things are different than I thought. And it's like, maybe The Matrix.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't know. That,
well,
after
the
it
same
made
kind
me
of thing
think
is
like,
that
oh, if that was real, what are some things that would clues to make it seem like they would be? But then again, I don't think I actually doubted
Yeah.
reality, but
the thing about the Matrix is that it's an answer as opposed to a question, kind of, and you can kind of basically say like, well, if the Matrix is true, it's like, well, either we can't be aware of it, and so it doesn't actually matter,
right,
or we can, and then we aren't, and so it's probably not true. But the idea of what is real and where are we getting our information and what our consciousness is,
right,
the question that the Matrix, kind of answers, that's a thing that books and stuff sometimes get me to go like, oh yeah, I'm not actually paying attention to what's going on. I'm paying attention to a story my brain is making and telling me about it.
Right. Okay.
And so it's that kind of thing that where there's like a vague, inexplicable, just like, wait, I'm right here on the radio talking to what? Like that kind of thing where it's just like, I'm here existing. I think I already said it a million times. Okay.
For me, because the Matrix, especially when you watch all three of them, I feel like there's lots of symbolism, and plenty of messages and things you can interpret out of it. And I kind of, what I remember, one of the things from it is, it felt like kind of talking about free will,
right? And
where if free will exists, and it kind of felt like a lot of movies do this, where they go free will, even if like you're in a fantasy world and everything's great, it's not as great as having actual free will and control of yourself, which I disagree with. Yeah. Because I free will for me is a thing where I kind of go like,
we're both really trying to say things.
Yeah, we really are. I just don't quite. I don't quite understand the. It's like the people going like, "Oh, you." Oh no, I'm going way.
But the
else.
not understanding, I think, is the more you read things and see things that point out areas about your normal existence that you haven't been paying attention to and don't really understand. That's the kind of question that creates knowledge and changes humanity. That's the interesting place to poke, and I think that movies like The Matrix succeeding does a lot to help people notice their own shortcomings or assumptions.
Yeah, sure. We have a few more minutes. Quickly go through a couple more. This is one that, even though it is silly and can be over the top in many ways, I think is a good example. American Werewolf in London.
I haven't seen that in a long time. I should see it again.
John Landis was talking about when they were writing the movie. He was going like, if there was an actual werewolf, what would happen? What would actually happen? And he's like, I just would try to do it. So he was saying, I wasn't trying to write a comedy. I was trying to write what it would be like.
Yeah.
And so, and there are the parts where he's talking to his dead friend and stuff who's slowly decaying throughout the movie, which are supposed to be funny. And stuff. But the stuff with the werewolf and just the humor comes out of reality in a way. And watching it like that, you're like, yeah, that feels like, because it's got actually scary parts.
Right.
And then it's a mystery part, people trying to figure out what's actually going on. And then there's the panic and just a bunch of different emotions and stuff. And I feel like that one actually, is like, yeah.
So do you think that is more believable than Teen Wolf?
Yes.
Okay.
Because Teen Wolf out of my head was one where I was like, Teen Wolf, and I go, wait, oh no.
They'd probably cheer him on at a basketball game.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, there was like 10 seconds of people going like, wait, is this okay?
Yeah, should we cheer?
It is? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, he was really good at basketball.
That's true.
And that means
he was
a lot.
confident too.
That's true. He's a good role model.
Yeah. Man, that first transformation scene in the bathroom.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's a little kid that scared me so much, but then when his dad shows up, and his dad's werewolf too, and he's like, yep, that did a good job. That really perfect when I was breaking the tension when I was young, going like, okay.
Yeah.
Even they are.
Yeah, and it's like the dad's there for him too. So even if it's not funny or goofy, it's still like, we'll deal with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have 2 minutes, so I think Do you have more?
I wanted
Throw some out?
in Neil Stephenson's. It's like 4 or
Heard of
5
him.
books that a character called Enoch Root shows up in, and like over like decades and centuries even, and it's like just he's a side character, and maybe he's immortal.
Huh.
And he's like an alchemist, weird guy, and it's a completely historical fiction type realistic stuff with some fictional characters, and he just kind of exists in those books, and it's weird and nobody knows.
I'm gonna throw it without any explanation, without saying anything. Alien.
I'm not going to explain it either.
Yep. Was that on your list? No. And then Lake Mungo.
Yes, that was on my list,
Okay,
but I
cool.
actually couldn't remember for sure whether Lake Mungo actually had supernatural
That's
stuff
the thing.
anymore.
It was
And
not.
that's a good
It was
that's a good
not
sign
totally
for me.
clear, but yeah.
And that's why I put movies on my list, because I couldn't remember for sure.
Cool. Were there any others that you want to throw out that you?
No,
were
I
like,
think
I can't believe I didn't say that
There are
one.
a ton of things, but nothing that needs to go out there.
Cool. If you guys have any movies you want to add, you should like tweet or Instagram stuff to add.
Stuff to add.
Yeah. But yeah, at Phil and Ariel on everything.
STUFF2.
Yeah.
Number 2 ADD.
Oh no, the
Hashtag.
plus sign ad.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's what I meant. And then hashtag at the end, too.
Yeah. The lowercase t, that'd be quicker than having to find the plus sign. Yeah, there's like 20 seconds. So thank you very much. Yeah. I appreciate everyone listening, and I hope you are able to enjoy it and go make you think of things that you'd add.
I hope you are able to enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chris. And stick around for Full Circle Sessions with DJ Saeed coming up in just a second. Bye-bye.